that. Hello. I know I'm late, but only by 8 hours and 4 minutes by the freckles on my arm. So I apologize. It's been a day, and we've been doing some things. Hiya. Let's get things crack-a-lackin'. Switcheroo the camera too. Hey, there we go. Look at that. Hi. Let me check my freckle clock again. Yeah, again, I'm sorry. Okay, so people are here saying hello. Papa, late night stream, eh? Where's Pop? Okay. Hi, guys. Listen, I'm sorry I'm late, but, it's been all day. So let's get dancing. So this is the page that I posted. Hi, Chris. Welcome aboard. Nice to see you guys both, and anybody else that might be alone. This is the page that I posted earlier today. We had a family event in relation to my wife's dad's passing, so that's why I was away. And but I thought I'd come on tonight because I knew, I would be up anyways. So this is why we're doing a late night. Hello. And I want to do something different, so we're going to get to that in 2 seconds. Hiya, Riri. How are you? Welcome aboard. Late stream, it is for me. Hi, everybody. Welcome aboard. And so today's page was, the suggestion was, there's a bunny that lives on the moon, but they see everything through rose-colored glasses and forget they're a bunny. So that was the quite extensive selection of suggestion. But thank you very much to Rin for suggesting that. Super cool, Rin. So this is the original art. This is available to see on the Patreon. Chris says, so now, the rabbits are part of the conspiracy. Yeah, I think that maybe there's some weird thing happening in some of these stories that I'm doing where a bunch of animals are going to be involved in some conspiracy. But, it's not like conspiracy chickens, because those are aliens. Anyhow. Okay, so I've got some fun stuff I'm going to switch cameras. I want to talk about. And there we go. So on the desk here, I've got a couple of things. This is just my sketchbook. It doesn't matter. But there's a couple of things I want to talk about. And I got a note on this page here. I'm not sure if people are familiar with what's called the Zorn palette. And the Zorn palette is something that we talked about when I was in artsy fartsy school. And the Zorn palette is this really reduced palette down that gives you this wonderful earth tones, this sort of value of different rich earth colors. But it takes some doing. So I've got to example this, and we're largely talking about painting here, but for some reason I got the itch for pencil crayons. So the basic colors of this are white, your standard old white, your standard old black. Ivory black is what's prescribed in the originals, but flake white for the, we're talking paint chip colors. And then you've got a vermilion red and a yellow ochre. Now, I'm debating on, this is far more the yellow ochre, but I find that the enriched tone out of this one gives a stronger vibe of that. So now, in addition to that, we've got Caravaggio's palette. And Caravaggio's palette includes a red ochre, which is where we start getting into this, or and an umber value, as well as a very tinny yellow. And the closest thing to a tinny yellow I've got in pencil crayon is that. So one of the things that I've always found really interesting with using this reduced palette, and whether it is the larger palette or the smaller palette, it forces that force constraint that I'm usually talking about putting myself under. Sorry, this is, for anybody that doesn't know, this is what my brain does at night, is that in the daytime, in the morning, I'm doing the things I need to do. In the afternoon, I'm doing the one-page stories. And in the evening, this is what I do. This is how my brain works. This is the random sketching that I do, on some kids' drawings in my book. Just whatever, right? So I started testing this out, is my point. And I'm using the eye of Gaspard Félix Ternacion, who's also known as Gustave Doré. That's Gustave Doré, in case you've ever wondered who did all those illustrations. So I'm using his eyeball. What do we got? Chris says, I like to get small sets of color pencils so I can mix colors. There's sets of 520 color pencils. I'll be overwhelmed. Not buying any of those mega big sets. I don't blame you. I mean, if you're prescribed to the idea of having the specific tool, the specific value for whatever little intimate colors that you need to put on things, I can see it then. But that's 520 pencils. In my mind, it just feels grossly unnecessary. So I don't blame you for mixing down the small sets. There's a lot to be said for going through a pencil box. And I've got this. These are the sets that I've used before in the stream. And this is 3 deep of pencils. And you can see all these random values that they have. And despite that, I've sat down and picked out this. This is all I've pulled out of that whole thing. And what this gives me is, to my approximation, the color palettes that we just talked about, the Zorn palette and the Caravaggio palette, to my approximation, these are the values that are largely representative in Caravaggio's paintings. And the reason that I've pulled the specific pencils for those colors is because no matter how much we do this is using the Zorn 1, 2, 3, with a red primary base, with a yellow primary base, or vermilion and ochre, and with a soft blend of the two before I really start inserting the black and white, the shades and tints, right? And despite both of these things, I'm still not pulling that brown that I really want to pull. The closest I get to it is here. But that involves a lot of soft blending of the black and the yellow. So I think that the limitation of a palette is something that allows you to focus specifically on the form and to focus specifically on the colors and whatever your subject is. But admittedly, in pencil crayons, you're going to have to step outside. You're going to have to include a little bit of green. I think that if there's one thing that I'm missing here would be a blue, but I just didn't take a moment to really sit down. I would think it would be like this, like a cobalt. And the reason I would suggest that that's the blue to insert, and then he sees another one that might be closer. Yeah, that's the one. So I think that because this might be the one to insert to that palette is to be used really sparingly. Because we're looking at an earth tone palette, and that would really overwhelm it. Were those palettes used because artists could not afford new colors? Well, from my understanding, there's a few different reasons. One is availability of materials, because let's admit that back in the days of Caravaggio's painting, specifically Zorn's contemporary, but back in the days of Caravaggio specifically, it's very expensive to get pigments. Very expensive to get the powdered whatever it was in order to mix the colors. And I mean, we're talking about things like crushed beetles and random things like that for certain values. So it's like, I can see the benefits of limiting your palette to specific colors. I can see the great benefits in that, specifically availability. If you know that you've got easy access and availability of certain amount of materials, why wouldn't you lean into those? But I think in addition to that, there's also maybe the intent of the artist in mind, in this case Caravaggio. I have to look up, and I'm going to have to look that up and do some reading on that. Hi, Corbin. Corbin's just come to join me. He said, we're doing a late stream, Dad. So, anyways, so this is the sort of way that my headspace works when I'm sitting here at night. And, I start thinking about things like this. So I grabbed, this is a random photo book, and it's fantastic. It's Masters of Photography from Castle Books. This book's probably 40, 60 years old. It's from 58. So much older than that. And what this is a lot of early photography. This is a photo from 1848 and so on and so forth. And so it's got a lot of these early images. It's clearly static and modeled, but what there is with these black and whites and all these gray tones that you see in these pictures is that it affords you the opportunity to apply, chromatic value to it, and I think because of that, especially in something like this, now it almost seems like it's a pixelation of the color in the skin. But what it really does is it just sort of shows you, like, clearly this guy, Eugene Delacroix, is clearly not healthy at the time. But the modeling in that skin is probably showing something to do. I don't know. I have to read up and see if he had liver disease, because that's not healthy hue. Maybe the light is overcast or not. I don't know. But, so a lot of these photographs, there's Baudelaire. Sarah Bernhardt is off page right now. Or Sarah Bernhardt. So, but what these afford us is to sit down with a piece of paper and to start interpreting one of these images as a character with no constraint. Clothes in those times did not have bright colors, right? It was when the Benetton started their clothes business, when a range of bright colors was introduced in fashion. Yeah, it's always fantastic to see old photos where, especially ones that they've tried to colorize, and they know for a fact that the most that they can do is, really rough browns, really rough tan colors and things like that. And because one was Benetton. Benetton is in a Victorian era of I think it's something like the 1880s is where you started seeing more color in fashion. Anyhow, but you never see really vibrant values in all of these really old photographs or film that they're now trying to restore so intensely. The point is, a face like that gives us the opportunity for a real value study, a real study of tone. This great guy, this guy, this crazy hat. That's a little traffic, sorry. It's exciting to me to see the old photos here. Canon de Chaux. Canon de Chaux? I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. So, yeah, this is exciting stuff, and it gives us all kinds of value and avenue and how we can interpret these characters using some tone, some chromatic tone, using these palettes, but without the interference of the fact that the palette's already established in the photo image. It's not a color image. It's not a tinted image of any kind. So whatever depiction that we're going to do, we can do it. And so let's start with this guy, Sir John Herschel. Hey, Sir John Herschel. And there's Thomas Carlyle. Well, you can't see him, but he's on the other side. Gathering water lilies. There. So yeah, so there's some fantastic images in this book, and it really affords you the ability of incorporating some of those elements. 1931. George O'Keeffe. Look at that. Okay, so let's use this face and start exploring that. Chris says, I love the Book of Benetton. I need to look for it, but can find it when I started later on. Oh yeah, that'd be great if you let me know on that. So I've got this textured piece of of paper that I jelly print on, and but I didn't jelly plate on this. I'm sorry. This is the page that I roll out the brayer on, and so that's why it's got this fantastic little bit of texture on it. So we're going to see how it takes to pencil. So, but I'm just going to play at this point. But this will be the first part. I'm going to draw this image, and then I have to fit whatever the page suggestion that I pull out after I draw this first image, and I'll have to fit a story to that. Chris says, I have a book with black and white photos of the actors, Mexican, who were part of the golden age of Mexican cinema in 1950s. That's awesome. I'll have to show during one of the streams next week, but I've got a wealth of black and white photo books. I love them. I think they're really wonderful. A lot of crime noir, 1930s black and white films, and black and photos are always lovely. There's so much that we can get from. There's so much that we can. Let's see. Oh, see, it takes the pencil. Okay, I'm not sure how that's going to turn out for you, but just give us a few moments. And so I'm going to interpret some of the bits and pieces of this, and I think you can see it. Okay, so I'll just continue on with this color. But the reason I'm using this random color, this green, is just because that's the one I sharpened, and that's what we're going with. I'm just playing with these colors and seeing what it gives me. And so in the course of doing so, I'm going to draw this down softly and then build up some more colors in and around it. Now, there's always some license when we're using source photos to, if you feel so inspired as to change stuff, change it as you go. But don't get yourself so locked in that you're disappointed when you're not specifically getting the exact same lines in the exact same places. The source photo is not to be used for that for anybody that's watching. And if there's any questions, let me know. I don't stream at night. I just, I tend to watch programs or sketch in my lap while I'm, doing stuff and spending time with Lori. And we've had a day, so we watched some of our show, and we're saving the last episode because I'm really enjoying it and I don't want it to end. We're watching a show called Shetland, if anybody is familiar with that. It's Jimmy Perez, a DI, detective inspector in the remote Shetland Islands at the northern tip of Scotland. So I like that. I like the bleakness of that. Okay, so I think, let me see, I'll hold it up so you can see where we're at. So lets me get all the shapes down. I'm putting the application down really light because I'm going to get silly with it in a minute. And I'm going to make a proper mess out of this, I think. So, and that has everything to do with, we're trying stuff. We're just going for it. And that's, I'll probably end up putting in some hits of white just to really punch those out. I like to have those crisp, and it's hard to do that with the colored pencil on a textured surface, which is what we're working on. So I don't really break down my drawings with structure and shaping out the face and all of those sort of things. I just go and just try to follow around the image, see where it takes me, which is largely why I take leaps and departures from what my source imagery is, just because it's how we interpret it, right? Are you using a jelly print? My process is a bit different. I sketch lightly with pencil, then turn the drawing upside down to check proportions, then add shadows or midtones. You're far more organized than I am. This isn't a jelly print. This is the paper that you roll out the brayer on. So when you have the excess of color and you roll the brayer out to clean, to thin down how much paint you've got on the surface of your plate, this is the page that's to the side. So I save those, and I work on those too. There's a number of pages that I've done where they're on surfaces like these. So because there's this fantastic granular texture you're going to get, which is not honestly the best for drawing on because it's very toothy, and but at the same time it's a little unforgiving. If you press too hard and move across your image, you're going to wipe it off. So but at the same time, I like a challenge. So this is what I'm using here. I tend not to, I don't know what my prescribed process is when it comes to working in any specific way. I tend to just go, and in cases like this, I'm, laying out the entirety of the structure. It is somewhat laying in all the darker tones, or at least the darker forms in the image, but I don't check proportions. I don't, I just draw and figure out the image as I go. I know it's a little ridiculous, and I know that it's not necessarily the smart way to go about it, but I think because I've been drawing for a little bit and I'm kind of not too worried about having it be exact or specific to the image that I'm sourcing, I just, go for it and let the broken bits fall along the way. So, because it keeps it sort of fun and interesting that way. I think that we got to figure out whatever way works for us individually. And some of those structured methods I'm too bonkers for. There's a challenge. I was talking to somebody about this. I've raised my drawing area up a good 4 or 5 inches, and it is still on a tilt, but it allows me to, when I get close to my drawing table, to the desk a little bit more, it allows me to have a greater sense of, I don't stretch the perspective on the face as much this way. But it's not always the most comfortable way to do it. So there's it's such a wonderful face full of so much character that this sort of thing allows us to do all kinds of direction in a story with just this emotional impact of the face. So I kind of like drawing expressions like this, faces like this. There's such a forlorn look in his eyes, and I think that I'm going to put some more colors down, and as I do, I'll pull some of that out. As opposed to, it kind of looks like a very fearful expression right now, but again, we got to get some more of those. And I'm trying not to put all the shades down with just the one value, so let some of the others be put in with some of the different pencils we're going to use in a minute. But it's a great face. I love it. Actors, politicians, they've always got these, fantastic expressions on their face that tells you a lot about them. And then you can just exaggerate it in whatever way you want. Look at those sideburns. Look at those mutton chops. I agree. Each one has a process. Save my brayer off paintings when I start jelly printing. Good idea. Thanks. Yeah, do so. Save these. Don't cast them aside. I'll show you some other ones just so you see some of the examples I'm talking about. Like this is another one on a craft paper. Okay, here's another one on another white sheet. But I'll hold this up. Just give me a second for it to focus in. See all those textures? See that crazy brown spatter texture there? Oh, Nelly. There's another one. This is rather smooth, this one. Look at this crazy bit of business. Look at that. What in the world? Yeah. So you can get all kinds of things. So hold on to those. The page I worked on one of these days this week was on a slap and drag page that I'd done. I'll use slap and drag as an under, like little details underneath the surface when I'm doing pages as well. So, it's just, I just like that little additional complexity that it puts into the surface. So, okay, I'm gonna get too fiddly bit and precious on this. Let's all go to the lobby. No, that's not what I was gonna say. Right. Hey, how you doing? There we are. Okay, so let's get into that vermilion. Let's just go the opposite direction here with this. Is this the vermilion? Yeah. Okay. So I just want to pull out some of these. Just start throwing in little bits of information into the image, and some of these gray tones that are these mid-term tones between this gray and this little rooted black is fun. Let's put some of those in. And Corbin is almost asleep already. So, Chris says, I'm following a guy named Danny who's South American. He teaches hyperrealism techniques. He's having right now a course on YouTube using the actress Maggie Smith as a model. Dame Maggie Smith. Wow. Yeah, she'd be a fabulous person to do a study on. Yeah, I completely agree. That we really enjoy Maggie Smith's work. If you're amazed. Like Lori and I remember her from a show called Little House on the Prairie, where she played this over the top woman that accused one of the family of the show for tempting her child with the devil, and it's Maggie Smith as a young lady. But great actress, and of course Downton Abbey and all that. She's got some of them acting chops. I particularly like in her oeuvre of work where she turned into a cat. 3 points for Hufflepuff if you get what that reference is for. All right, so this is where I start to have a little more knock around with the colors. So as I'm putting in these, hold it up. So as I'm putting in some of these additional shadows and shapes, and it's just kind of picking and choosing which way I want to go with where I'm putting stuff. So, but really, I don't know about others, but I always apply pencil crayon really lightly. Yeah, she's an extraordinary talent. Yeah. 2 days ago, I posted a video working with her eyes. Awesome. One of the things that I'm really disappointed about is there was an Australian television personality and fantastic artistic talent that was on British morning shows and Australian morning programs, and he ended up getting an OBE, and was one of the people chosen one year to do the Queen's portrait. And he is his channel and site are called Soy Danny. I'm gonna write it down. Soy Danny. I'll definitely look that up. Is he actually got her modeling for him, or is he using a photographic image? Anyhow, the person that I'm describing was a guy, a performer named Rolf, and Rolf was so very talented, and I got to watch a documentary where he's talking about the processes doing a portrait of Queen Elizabeth, and we get to see him doing this and speaking to her and speaking about his enthusiasm for the entire, performative act of doing her portrait, her official portrait for that year. And then when the Savile scandal started, and if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's a 1970s performer named Jimmy Savile who had a thing called Jim Will Fix It. He was a grossly inappropriate man, and it was all concealed. So much of the industry covered up his shenanigans. And, when they shenan once, they're going to shenan again. So it's unfortunate that in the process of that, we also learned that Ralph was an inappropriate person and had relationships with, women that were far, it was gross, So it's one of the few images ever that have been taken out of the royal collection of portraits of whoever the ruling monarch was at the time. But it's really unfortunate because I really enjoyed watching his process and how he worked. And here he is doing this fantastic sitting, and you don't get to see it anymore. And of course, I've lost that video. Oh, he's using a photo. He's using a photo of Maggie Smith. Fantastic. Soy Danny Art is the correct one. I'll make that correction. ARTE as well. Excellent. Okay. Yeah, we'll look him up. So that's, this is what happens in this day and age of history being reinterpreted at all times based on societal change, and which is a lot of times really important and appropriate to do, but at the same time, there's always breakage, and I wish he hadn't been such a bad person, and just leaned into his talent and just focused on that. But people are people. They're going to do dumb things and disappoint us. So it's too bad. But because I have a form of eidetic memory, I remember the entire program and the processes that he went through. So it's kind of fun. Phantom, we'll watch it later. Yeah, I'm going to check that as well. I wrote that down, Chris. Thank you for telling us about that. So, okay, so now I've put some of this vermilion down, pulling out colors. I'll hold this up again. There we go. And so the eyes are still looking a little, a little bit in shock here. So we're going to get to toning that back. What do we got? This is a red ochre, I believe. This is the set that whatever the color is at the bottom, look at this, because this means nothing half the time. So this red, much deeper red. So I just want to do a couple little bits with this. So yeah. I love process videos too. Watching someone draw for me is amazing. I learn a lot and I get ideas to experiment. I'm the same way. I mean, you have to push yourself. Mad Charcoal is another Fab YT channel. Yeah, I like Mad Charcoal as well. I like that he has this fantastic ability for these images that he's working. I just kind of, you sort of watch X amount of those videos and go, all right, yep. Because there's just this part of me that wants him to do more than just an image, more than just a static image or a portrait or things. And they're all brilliant, no doubt about it. But there's just this part of me that, wants him to go even farther and to work out a larger composition with all kinds of elements, But that is not the nature of how Mad Charcoal is drawing. And so I accept it for the nature of what it is, but fantastic use of charcoal for sure. Which is not a fun medium to use if you don't like getting messy and dirty and yucky. You know, I'm that guy. I'm that fussy Gus that it's dirty. I did a pastel page recently with Conte pastel chalk in it, just to make sure I don't lose the polish on that blade, you know. Chris says I'll find it. Yeah, look him up. I'll do that. It's the reason I work in as many different mediums as I do, is because I want to remember how to work in those mediums. You know, whatever the word. So I'm using this deeper red as an emphasis point on some of these shadows. But we're going to get a little more complex with our choices. Someone's got to do it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun when you find illustrators that you like. There's this one person, I believe, I think she's called Nips, Nips, something. But she does these wonderful little modulative images using paint markers or just simply markers on their own. And very good, smart handling on it. And then there's another guy, Ethan something or other. I got a kick out of this guy because he's so obnoxious. He's so obnoxious. He talks and he has a microphone on a knife blade to make him look hard. And he's like, "Okay, dummies, let's talk about your art." It's so ridiculous. But he does have some good insights on art, but other times he's just absurd. Check it out, the thumbnails, they look great. He does great work. There's this part of me that wants him to do these crazy, complex, large images. Just because I think they'd be very good. There's a painter that I really enjoy their work, but it's controversial for some. So I hope this doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. But there's a painter called Anselm Kiefer. Now, Canadian born, I think he's in Hawaii or something now, but he did these large paintings, oil and roofing tar and things like this, but he used as his models skinheads, German skinheads, and he was working on these in Germany, but they're very homoerotic. But the thing that has the massive impact about his work is that it is on an epic scale. So these are massive canvases. And it's very strong stuff when you see it in person, because it's very much like going to a larger gallery that has some of the epic, Otahurotai by Jacques-Louis David, or just any large symbolic painting history. You don't get to see a lot of those in London, Ontario, Canada. So. And when they're done right, we've had a number of pieces in this city here over the years, but a lot of them missed that mark. Kiefer's stuff was just crazy, just over the top. All right, I'm gonna hold him sideways so I remember that while I used him. Despite not being a fan of charcoal myself, I get messy, but charcoal is too much for me. Oh, yeah, he says me too. I think you're going to find that everybody agrees on that front. Charcoal is one of those things where you can't mind. You can't mind the mess. You can't. You've either got a really fine control over the marks that you're making, or you really just don't mind at all the disruptiveness of your area that charcoals, pastels, Contes, chalks, all of those things can cause. So now I've got this orange that I've brought in this. And again, this is where I'm starting to get into specific. And rather than the primary colors that we talked about in that Caravaggio palette, this would be the type of orange that would be mixed with an ochre and a vermilion, is that you would get this kind of an orange. So if you can catch these three values, so I figured this is the in-between point. I thought a lot about these colors. So I'm just, again, just a little more structure in here, and then we'll move on to another color in a moment. But so I like drawing in pencil crayon, I really do. And you know, you can have so much fun with it. It's just plain like it is with anything else. Reverses exactly. Yeah, I don't want to overwhelm the image either with this value, because it would be really easy to do that really quickly. So the green, you know, original drawing is starting to get, you know, more absorbed now in with the additional colors, the additional layers coming on. So that was kind of the idea. So it's less of that fearful face, and you can see some more of that forlorn, that saddened, introspective look in the eyes that I think is more appropriate in the picture. Very interesting exercise. Limited palette and a black and white reference. Yeah, anything that you can do to challenge yourself to step a little more lively with what you're putting down is a good idea. I think, I believe, and it allows you to you know, basically to just sort of look deeper into the image that you're drawing, because you're trying to ascribe colors to it. Something nice in that. So this is, okay, so the reason that I've got, I'll show you this in a sec. The reason that I've got the umber, and the reason I've picked out that blue, is rather than jump right into the black, I'm going to use the blue and the brown. And because I do that, so I do that in my in my drawings and paintings and whatever else. I'll often use blue and brown instead of I'll use a black. So Corbin's beside me snoring. It's very fun. What a silly guy. So this is where I'm starting to put a little bit more form in the eye. I'll hold it up in just a sec. With the, once I get this brown in. But then when I put some of this blue down with it, it should make a kind of nice charcoal kind of a color. In a certain way, it's guessing the skin colors, right? It is, but at the same time, it's also like just forcing you to think of interesting ways for how those colors will work together. Like I'll do the same sort of thing that I'm doing here with markers or paint or colored pencils or colored pens or whatever. But what I'll do is this lady's yellow or green, you know, or this kid here is entirely in cool blues, and how do I evaluate how that works? And so oftentimes when you see these monochromatic things that I'll be doing in pages, and it's because I've kind of got this sort of sense of how blue works now, or I got a sense of how these values work with light. And doing those sorts of things just informs us far more greatly, and how those colors work in general on any old subject, on any old character, buildings. It was a toss up. Do I do a face or do I do a building? So I went with the face at the last second. But it's also informing yourself by making interesting combinations of color that you might not normally have. So here's where we're at right now for our face, but because of the sort of glittering effect that it has right now is that texture in the surface of the paper. And that incorporated with the texture of a pencil crayon in the first place, I think it's really fun. And it's the kind of fun that might force people to try to guess, how they do that, right? We're not telling them. Just don't tell them. It came that way. Mm-hmm. So I'm putting in some of these deep umbers. Okay, so I'll come in with this blue. I'm just going to sharpen it. I hope this is interesting to people. I just go. I don't think too deeply. I know I don't normally do late night streams, but here I am. Here we are together. Thank you, everybody, for coming to visit, and for those of you that watch us later. I hope people get something out of this. So now I've got this blue moving into the brown area, and it turns into this sort of rich charcoal, the blending of these two together. But it also still allows those two colors to stay separate. You can still see the blues in it if you're looking, that way. If you're looking this way, you see more of that brown. I like that. I like that a lot. I had a teacher in high school that would do this with paint, and that just never left me. But this teacher would also do these really soft and delicate and really washed out layers of color, and he'd do these abstractions that were maybe 4 by 4 inches, but they'd have like 32 colors deep on washes. But the colors that would come out of these things were so rich, and the combinations to make these rich colors on the surface is a comprehension of all those layers, all those washes, that soft touch, that soft approach to it. So it sort of never left me. And it's the same for a lot of the people that I think were taught by him as well. Okay, I'll hold that up. So this is the grays that are coming into the eye now. But it still has that really kind of weird and soft finish to it. But rather than just jumping into that black, we're going to build it up. And some of the marks that I put down are in spots and places that I didn't focus on earlier. And it's just sort of, like there's no, this pencil's the shadows, this pencil's the this. It's explore all those colors. So this is the way my brain works. But it's a lot of fun. We have 48 minutes. We're getting there. Let's see how long it takes me to do stuff. But this is the kind of doodling that I do at night and in my sketchbook. So there's this deep shadow in the nose area that's a lot of fun. So I've been playing with a couple of different colors in the same spot, and just seeing where that takes the surface. And the other thing about old black and white photos is I like the fact that they're really not in clear focus, because a lot of times we don't see in clear focus. So to be afforded the chance to more clearly define some of these forms is one of the benefits that you can get out of using these old photographs. That, and people go, hey, is that Sir John Herschel? I don't know who he is, but he's got great hair. From the person who has chaotic hair, this guy's got fantastic hair. Yeah. Noses are difficult sometimes. They can be. I tend to think of all form as just form, right? And if I think about horses are tough to draw, or noses are tough to draw, or it's tough to draw toes, then the more that you're going to reinforce that for yourself, and I think that a nose is as challenging as anything else. It's all shapes. I love seeing your images material. Oh, thanks, Riri. That's nice of you. Come to life, as it were. Times two. Very nice. Very nice, yes. So we've got, I still haven't touched the yellow yet. And again, it's the same thing. Some of these values get really overpowering. And so with that, with the yellow ochre that I've got here, which I think this is as close an approximation to yellow ochre as I saw in that tin, or plastic tub, I guess it is now. So you really got to be soft with it, but you can bend it across some of these fields. And because of the strength of the color, it just ties the face together. So it stops being all of these overlapping shapes, and it starts to blend together into a face. Make sure I'm not missing something. So, that's one way to approach it, I guess. Really haven't done anything with his chin. There's fantastic little spotty textures in that chin, whether it's whiskers from the day, or he hasn't shaved yet, since the day before, whatever it is, but he's got, or it's little pock marks, I don't know. It's often a combination of both with old fellow faces, but I like that information a lot, and so this textured paper sort of leads to that in the first place. Just a really grainy image. So I'm going to pull off this guy right now, and who are you? I think that's black. Ah. Okay, so I got this deep, kind of a blue. No, I think it's just sort of a sharp gray. So I'm just going to come in and make some marks across here. Some of these little pieces of information. I can't, because of the paper, have really sharp lines. Just can't. It's the nature of the paper. So I hope I'm not keeping anybody up late. If I am, I apologize. Frank was here at the start of the stream. I was talking about Frank today. Frank lives very far away. Just we talk about how Frank lives in a place called Far, Texas. I just think that's fantastic. So there's see that it's these light hits in the eyebrows that are really going to push that contrast is really going to push that deepening focus there. It's kind of just the nature of the thing. Great eyes on this guy, though. Who is it again? Sir John Herschel. He's known for inventing rap music. No, that's not true. Going to offend some of those big Herschel fans out there. So usually when I'm working mixed, this is when you'll see me take like a white or just a solid color and put it down and smudge it with my thumb just to bend it into the area. But we're holding off on that. We're holding off on that with this one. I've got this white, but I don't know that it's going to be strong enough. But there's some nice little shapes above the eye. Yeah, I'll figure it out. Crazy eyes, that's what he's got. We call this guy Crazy Eyes Johnson. It's I don't want to make the hard lines that overdefine the shape. That's why I'll do these little dashes of color instead. Chris says it's looking good. Hey, thanks. See, the look in his face is because this is the first time he's about to put down some tasty rap joint, some tasty beats, change music forever. He's just ahead of his time. People weren't ready for his music yet. Completely fabricated nonsense. Chris says, be right back. My cast decides it's good to be having the Zoomies hour right now. Oh, no. Hey, Christopher, I met you at the Comic-Con last week. Finally able to watch it. Hey, welcome aboard. We're exploring the different values that we can make from a limited palette using a black and white image with a pencil crayon on a heavily textured paper. So that is what we're doing tonight. And then, of course, the challenge that I have to face after that is that I have to pull one of the suggestions out of the thing and try to incorporate this first image into that story. So it's just one of these little extra unnecessary challenges I set for myself. Totally unnecessary. Anybody has any questions or anything else, feel free to ask away. I got this terrible stain in my shirt, and how do I get it out? Well, there's this stuff you can spray on. Here it says, hi, Kat. Shalom. There we go. Yeah, I met a lot of cool people at the con. Really great bunch of people there. A lot of people took part in the one-page suggestions. We just did the one that I posted earlier today is the first one that I've done from the con. It's the first one that I pulled out of the tub, the bin there, and we're going to just keep going with that. On Monday, I will be doing a page suggested by someone from the Netherlands. So, and then Tuesday is our 3-prompt Tuesday, and then Wednesday will be the next day that I go into the bucket. So unless I do it this weekend and post some of those on Patreon and eventually on Substack. So, but I don't put those ones on Instagram, so probably won't do it this weekend because that's not fair to all the people that made suggestions at the con. That's the whole part of opening up for everybody having fun and taking part. Is that you got to make sure that you're able to take part. And I'm not sure what I'll be using on the next few pages. Will you use a blender or burnisher? No, I don't. Exhausted, heading to bed. Thanks for creating with us. Hey, thanks for being a part, Riri. Good night. Have a good night. Oh, and Chris says good night too. No, I don't use blenders or burnishers. I just put it down, and I think because I apply it soft, the pencil crayon softly, it's doing some of that blending as is. I've got burnishing, stubs and things like that over here. I tend to use those for the charcoals and the contes and chalks, and not on pencil crayon. It's weird the way that we develop these habits, and everybody. It's sort of like I've always used the analogy of music. It's just a different kind of tune. It's your different interpretation of the same tune. We use similar tools in different regards, and I can't stand when people say this is the correct way to do this. I'm like, no, it ain't, well, Joe. Because they're just limiting themselves. Sorry, it wasn't very clear. It's you gotta have fun. You gotta play with different stuff. Like I said earlier, I might still pull in a little bit of white ink or paint to pop that a little bit more. Pop it out a little bit there. Or I'll just erase out that spot too. We've always got that option. But whatever it is you're doing, it's your rules, it's your piece. Don't worry about what the other person thinks. What? When did you get up? I thought you were sleeping. Corbin is expecting me to do something right now. Maybe he's just telling me he's back. It's cheeky. So I wanted to tell everybody about this, but I can't show you. Yeah, Chris says there's no correct way, just the tips. Yeah, just try this. This worked for me. You try that. Here he is. Hold on, the kid wants in the camera. You gonna say hi? Hey, Jay, say hi. Yeah, there you go. That's it. There's your Corbin time. My mother-in-law bought us a new doormat, like a little rug at the doorway, so you can get the stuff off your shoes before you come in. And it's Baby and Corbin. It's two tabby orange cats, and one looks like Baby and one looks like Corbin. So the two studio cats that you see in my videos, we have a doormat of them as well now. It's really silly, but I like it. It's very cute, and I'm a big goofball. All right, steaming hot cup of lovely. Well, it's cold. It's cold tea now, but Corbin, Nico heard you and says, purr. Hey, Chris's cat says hi. You just looked around. It's the silly associations we make for our cats. Who's looking for your cat? Who knows what he's thinking of cheese for all I know. It's a nice present. It's a great present. Like, that's such a fun thing. And we like it. So every day I come in the house and step on my cat's faces. No, that's not really what's going on. Going back to that vermilion that I was using earlier. We'll go for, we'll go a few more minutes here. We're having some fun. So then I will pull what I have to incorporate this into tomorrow at some point to post for this weekend. But well, I guess I'd show this page on Monday, the one that I'm working on now. But I'll do it in the morning. So now I'm getting into some of this hair, and so I'm looking at the shapes, the wedge shape here, teardrop shape in there. I'm drawing the shapes. I'm not worrying about it as a linear element. I'm just looking at the shapes, right? Where the little smudges go, and they're not going to be perfect. So, but we're going to go for it anyways. We're going to do our thing, do it our own way. Don't be too worried about making it specifically like the image. It's not going to be. Gary says, Christopher, what time is it? Am I supposed to be at work? Did I oversleep? Yeah, Chris says hi. It's the Twilight Zone stream late at night. There we go. You're entering a dimension of time and space. I was watching some old Twilight Zones the other day. I'll do that. I like to watch a lot of black and white shows and a lot of crime noir and just old classics, because there's a sense of the drama of it is so heightened. You know, John. Yes, Margaret. I didn't know you were here. I've been here for half an hour, and it's so intense. It's so fun. That I like watching those just because they're so over the top, but rich with characterization. So yeah, this is I'm having fun with this. This is coming together. I need a little. I went too dark on here, I think. In my head, I say so. But let's do this. Yeah, use this cat. So I'm going to try to make it clear. I'm using a blue. Again, I'm realizing how strong it is. I'm using this blue in here to try to pull the hair away from the face. This is very late for you guys to be up. So drawing, I know that there's a lot of coloring with pencil crayons that people are doing, but I find that when drawing with pencil crayons, you just gotta be loose, just go for it, have fun. So I think that hopefully this more clearly defines this cheek now, and I'll put some more of these blue shapes in the rest of the hair. Pull some of those lines. But rather than looking at it, when I say lines, what I mean by that is that gesticulative movement in the tone. It's really more of a shape like this with the cross shadow. You get what I mean. So yeah, so there's a lot of that coming together. And there's no hard and fast rule about how much of the image I have to draw or anything like that. It's I'm doing it. It's my thing. I'm doing my thing. No, latest stream. It's 9 p.m. for me. It's 11:15 here, so it's not that much later. But we're gonna go to. That's Sunday. On Sunday we're going to Niagara Falls, which is a place in Canada that has a massive waterfall. It's in Canada and it's in the States. It divides the two. It's Niagara, New York, I think, is on the other side. You're close to Buffalo, New York. See, I like see even these elements, like these different colors in here, and you know, running off to the edge of the page into this area, the white area. It's fun. You know, that's the stuff that I like to do because it's just a little added. I always say this. It's a little added complexity. So. There's that fun texture, and as we continue on with this image, see, this is a case where I could put some white paint marker into here and pull up some whites in this darkened area. Or ink. I've got ink on a brush. Just making sure I'm not missing stuff. I'll go for a couple more minutes, and then we'll call it a night. Do a regular length of a thing. But thank you, everybody that's come out tonight. A lot of fun. I hope that this wasn't too boring. Nighttime, they should have more pizzazz. Where's the music? Where's all the dancing? And then I'm going to do this with the red, where I'll put in the neck piece that he's got here, but I'm going to use the red to do it. Vermilion, I'm sorry to be specific about that value. So I'll show the colors that, for anybody that wants to write them down, and we'll show those in just a moment. One more time so that people can take a look at those and see if you have similar colors, whatever medium you choose to use, and try out the Zorn palette and the Caravaggio palette, or the Caravaggio palette. What's that? Okay, in a minute. It's almost feeding time. He's here to remind me, hello, I would like to sup. Okay, so there's, and then this is going to get colored in here to round that out. You know, and then I'll case it, little panel shape, you know. I'll just put this line in here. I turn the pencil around a lot in order to keep that point. Dee always points it out. Dee is a friend of the stream here. For those that might not know, most of the people that this stream kind of know each other to some extent. Check out her stream as well. So anybody that might still be here, anybody has anything that they've got going on, got any streams happening this week, then let us know, so we can tell people to come on out. All right, so there's, you know, and then this value is going to go right up into here. So there's our roughed in first panel. You know, and a lot of this information up in here is going to be cleared out as well. So there's the rough shape of our first panel for our thing. And I have to pull. I'll do two things. I'll make sure I give you these colors again, and I'm going to put it like this so they don't roll off my thing, because that's got a clip, so I'll hold it up. I'm going to a magic town tomorrow, Bernal, 45 minutes away. It's an extinct volcano. Oh, that's fantastic. Famous destination here to visit. The monolith is what remains of the volcano. That's so cool. I'll record part of my trip for my channel. Oh, very cool. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Okay, so for anybody with the idea to, I'll hold that up here. White, yellow ochre, vermilion red, and black. And the suggestion in paint is like an ivory black, which seems contradictory. But then you've got, and that's the Zorn palette. So that was the first 4 colors that I showed you at the beginning. I'll pull them up again. So, and the white. So that's these. That's the Zorn palette. Okay, and then you add a tin yellow, right? A red ochre, and an umber, which is a deep brown. And that is the Caravaggio palette. But you know, of course, considering that he did have to have a blue in there because there are very rich greens in some of his work. So, so this is, you know, the Caravaggio. You know, there's the larger palette there now with the Zorn and the Caravaggio. So if people are interested in trying those out, please do. Okay, so there's where I'll show you where we got to tonight. You can see this junk. But I'll hold it up. Here's where I got to tonight. There's our source. Oh, there we go. Now I can do it. There's our source image down below here. And so it's let us pull up all these little bits of information. It's fun. The closer you get, the more rich the colors become. So, yeah. So it's on its way. Yeah, I hope that this has helped people. If you're doing jelly plating, save the pages that you clean your brayer off, because you get these opportunities to work on something, and it's not something you'd think to traditionally do pencil on. You think it'd be a traditional flat color, a white paper, a colored piece of paper, but not with this complexity of information in the background. But by allowing the opportunity of that, we're getting all this fun information in here that just makes us, you know, think a little bit more of how we're setting up our image. So that's exciting. At least I find it exciting. That's about it. You got anything you want to say? No, I think he's okay. Okay, Corbin wants to say hi. You're doing your climb up? Here. Okay. Well, anyways, it doesn't matter. We've got stuff to do. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. I'm sorry I wasn't here earlier on today, but I appreciate people coming by. And anybody that wants to look at this video tomorrow is more than welcome to do so, or whenever. But, yeah, keep those suggestions coming in. We're having a lot of fun. And this is page number 272 of this year. So we're having a ball. The goal is 365. That is the goal. Or whatever else I can do in the time we got. So, okay. Corbin's climbing up. So that's the sign that, you know, working time is over, because now's the time where he thinks he sits on the desk. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming out. And I will be back on Monday at 2 p.m. EST, 11 a.m. PST, and we'll see you then. In the meantime, have a great weekend, and bye for now.